started here today, and I always love to cater to my analytical folks. They say 1 out of 4 people are analytical, so they need to see numbers to trust and build a bond with you. So let's get started. So they say about 96% of marketers see an ROI when it comes to Facebook. And I was just joking around that I pay Facebook for you guys to show up. Basically, I spent a lot of money on advertising, so if you show up prominently. How many of you guys saw that ad on Facebook? Raise them high. Oh wow, that puppy worked. Good, perfect. So I always like to share a story. I had 2 Facebook hands-on presentations in the past 2 months, and one lady went to 2 of them, and she said she spent $18, just $18 for 3 days, and it reached 2,500 people, 122 people clicked. But this is what is going to get your attention. She spent $18 in an ad, and she generated $18,000 in sales. 22 customers came to her business and 5 created jobs. This is her handwriting, and I like to chew gum, so I took a piece out of the paper. But this is literally her handwriting, and she was struggling because Facebook had eliminated her account because there was some sort of issue that she must have done, and I noticed that she had a duplicate account. So I helped her create the ad, or told her how to create the ad, and then she went back to her office and she created this ad, and she went to my next presentation, my next hands-on Facebook presentation, and she shared her story with me. So I always think that it's relevant to know what others are doing locally, and I'll show you examples of national campaigns as well. Well, I'm not used to having a clicky thing, and then it has the red thing, so I'm going to blind someone with the light here. So what's new with Facebook? I think this cartoon pretty much tells you what's the latest thing that's going on with the algorithm. One laugh, okay, there you go. I actually paid for this cartoon. I was hoping for more than one laugh. But it's actually true. It's a great story of how desperate we are as advertisers, small business owners. We kind of have the same goal. I always have to prove an ROI to my clients, in some cases, mini bosses, because I have multiple little bosses that are clients. So I think it's really important and imperative to provide information of how to prove an ROI when it comes to these Facebook things. So one of the things that are getting a lot of prominence right now is engagement. Not necessarily getting a lot of clicks on the picture, but actually getting people to react, to engage with the picture. Long gone are the days when you would have a successful campaign with Photoshop. Who hates Photoshopped pictures and those stock photos? I can't stand them. I was just meeting with a client before I came here about Instagram. I'm like, you better not use Photoshop photos on Instagram. Like I said it like that. So they're paying a lot of emphasis on engagement and providing, that interaction. So I thought this was a great picture that shows that warm and fuzzy feeling. So for the analytical folks that need to see how we can prove this data, if you go to your insights on your settings on the back end of your business page, if you're an admin, if you go to the settings and where insights is and you scroll down to all your latest posts, if you go there, there's this thing that it says reach. So I move it down to reach non-fans and fans, and then I can determine how many people are interacting with each specific post that are fans and non-fans. And that's really relevant because is organic growing or organic content? Do we always have to boost something? I have one client that spends $700. They're in Bristol, as a matter of fact. And they're in the real estate industry, and they spend about $15 a day on boosted ads on Facebook. So another example that would probably be really worthy for you to take note is the reactions. So, like I was saying, engagement is reactions, people leaving comments and that sort of thing. So next to the fans and non-fans, I move it down and I go here, and when I go here, I change it. It automatically does post, clicks, reactions, comments, and shares. I move it down to where reactions and comments. In that way, I can see how many people are engaging with a specific post. And maybe when I look at it overall, I look at all my previous posts and I see, okay, which one is getting the most engagement? And which one's getting the most engagement with non-fans? When I just saw my client about an hour ago, this thing, which is the current fans, and then the non-fans was all the way up to here. It was a massive amount of people that were non-fans engaging with that specific content. Oh, I want to say hi to Jacob. Tell everyone your name and what you do.
Jacob Pigamama, I work at GS.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. I always like to make sure everyone. Oh, hi. Let me see you here. You look great. Please tell everyone what you do and where you work, because I always have to do an introduction. And it's an awesome program. Thank you. All right, so this is very imperative. Again, if you go to your settings section and you can see all this data, and then this really helps you determine, hey, what can I post or what can I boost more of that gets this type of traction? So, audience. Facebook has two different types of audiences, and one of them is the engagement audience. And this is the type of audience that we probably want to start using for advertising. These are people that are liking your page, that are leaving comments, that are leaving messages, that have previewed the page. There's an option that you can see how people preview your page. People that have sent you a message. There's various types. So this engagement audience is really great when you try to use advertisements, because there are people that are already interacting with your page. So you can probably target them for future reference. One thing that a lot of people don't know about is audience insights. This is a great tool that everyone has, and you just go to audience insights on the top left-hand side, and you can really learn a lot about the people that currently engage with your page. With this option, I can see how many people like my page that are men versus women. So for the creative professionals that are on the right side of this room, that affects overall the content. What are you going to say? The image, even the font. You know, my business, I have a font that's very rounded because it caters to women, and I have a lot of female clients. So with this sort of information, it's really relevant, because when you do boosted ads, if you see that I have one client that 80% of his fans are men, then I'm definitely going to try to reach them as opposed to both sexes. You can see if they're married, you can see their education level. You can type in your interests. So let's say if they're vegan and you're catering to vegan people, or vegan herd people, I don't know what you want to call that, but that kind of helps you determine that. The last time I checked, I noticed that most of the fans that I cater to are women that have graduate degrees, and I buy a lot of money on food. They're foodies like me. So I thought that was really relevant with the type of stuff that I'm going to be posting on my page. So there's another cartoon for you to hopefully laugh at. I always share a story that I sleep with 3 night lights because of this cartoon. I seriously do. I'm up to 4, I think. I just get really paranoid with everything that Facebook knows about us. And I always share the story about a TED Talk where the dad of a 15-year-old girl found out that his daughter was pregnant through Target. So she didn't buy a diaper bag, she just bought a bag big enough to qualify for like a diaper bag. She didn't buy prenatal items, she just happened to buy vitamins. So Target put this algorithm together and said, hey, this person is not only pregnant, we can predict when she's due. So this is the sort of information as us business owners, creative professionals, that we can use to really target our audience. So if Target can find out that you're pregnant, then why can't we use this sort of information that Facebook provides for us to really cater and customize our audiences when we create ads? So I use a thing called Power Editor, and it's my best friend. I'm actually going to be going to a social media conference next week and doing a hands-on training with the guy that taught me everything about Power Editor in Jacksonville. But Power Editor is a Facebook targeting tool that I use, and I use it with Chrome. I'm on a Mac, so I never use it with Safari. And these are targeted posts, and these posts reach specific people. I always share a story. It's a very personal story, but I always reveal to people that I'm Catholic. And for 40 days, I had to give up something for Lent. And chocolate was not possible. I was just trying to think of what can I give up that will be really hard for me to think about to give up. So I gave up Dunkin' Donuts for 40 days. And as soon as I gave up Dunkin' Donuts, I started seeing ads from Dunkin' Donuts saying, Buenos Dias, Tennessee. And it scared me. This is why I sleep with 3 nightlights. So I'm like looking around. Where is Dunkin' Donuts? And I realized that I'm a sucker for a free donut. So every time you go to Dunkin' Donuts, you get a receipt and it says, answer the survey, you get a free donut. So sucker that I am, I put I'm Hispanic, I live in the 37604. I'm into this and that, and then I started seeing advertisements from Dunkin' Donuts, and I think it's based on my email, or the stuff that I say that I'm from Miami, that I am Hispanic, and that sort of stuff. But what this was, either you want to scare people and creep them out like I was, or you really want to build a relationship with them, and this is why we use these type of audiences and targeting options. So again, these are targeted posts, and these posts are really relevant to the audience that you cater to. So, for example, with her business, she's in the wedding business. Every person that has a wedding needs to have a little photo booth to have fun. That's a great memory, a great souvenir of a wedding. So this would be great for her to target people that are about to get married. Facebook has a way to track people that are engaged for 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a whole year. So she can create great stunning imagery with a great ad and target people that are engaged, that are recently new to the area, anything that relates to the industry that she's targeting. So, next.
What's a dark post?
A dark post is an unpublished post. There's 2 ways to call it. Facebook calls it an unpublished post, but the average person calls it a dark post. It's essentially the same thing. So it's basically a post that no one sees unless they are targeted to. So it won't show up on your timeline. Thank you for asking that question. It won't show up on the timeline. So when I went back to Dunkin' Donuts after getting this training on Power Editor, I went to their timeline and I didn't see anything in Spanish saying "Good morning, Tennessee." So it's something that doesn't show up on the timeline, but it caters to those people. So who has email and does email newsletters here? So this is a great way to have people opt into your email that actually see your updates. So let's say you've worked really, really hard to build this email newsletter. So you can target people based on if they sign up for your email address. So you can target these people that are signed up to Facebook, and they see the success rate from the email addresses that you have to the ones that they cater to on Facebook is about a 70% accuracy. So you can target people based on their email address. You can target people that are lookalike audiences that have done something with your Facebook page. You can have them finish up a cart, sign up for a survey, anything that you have as a call to action item, you can have them target them through the email addresses that you have from them. So I like to resemble a very organic way of doing business. So for example, tomorrow morning there's a chamber breakfast here in Kingsport, and I like to build relationships on social media the same way that I build relationships offline. So I have a like campaign. You're gonna get a kick out of this, David, but I create a like campaign. I get new blood liking my page, so whether it's people that just moved to the area, people in the wedding industry, baby boomers, people in the financial industry, want to hit them up. I get all this new blood liking my page, and then I create an engagement campaign. So what that is Facebook reach is about 2%, not even less. So every time you do post something on Facebook, the reach is so low that hardly anyone's seeing it. So what I do to keep people in the loop and top of mind is I boost or create an ad to engage with them. And then finally, I have a call to action. So maybe 3-6 months down the line, after I've gone through this kind of funnel, invisible funnel, I hit them up and say, go to my blog, sign up for a consulting session, just like how I do in real life. So for example, tomorrow I'm gonna go to the chamber breakfast. I'm gonna wake up at 7 a.m. or earlier than that, get there at 7, it starts at 7:30, and go and meet people. And then fight over an omelet, the last omelet in the buffet line, and then eventually follow up with someone. So it's very organic like that. I meet with someone tomorrow at the chamber breakfast. I get to know them. Then eventually I follow up with them, say, hey, I'm Valentina. I would love to meet with you sometime. And then down the line, they meet up with me for a cup of coffee, or I bribe them with some chocolates from Valentina Chocolates, or I meet up with them for lunch. And then eventually we foster a relationship. I follow them on LinkedIn, I follow them on Twitter or on Instagram, and then eventually they become a client, 3-6 months down the line. So the same thing with social media. I'm not gonna go to the chamber breakfast tomorrow morning and be like, hey, my name's Valentina, I'm a social media consultant, please hire me. No, that's the same way that a lot of people do Facebook advertisements. They automatically just boost something like a call to action and expect that to work for them. No, you have to build a relationship, and this is why I love doing this type of strategy when I do Facebook ads. So I don't know who has a Farmer's Daughter account, but you guys are awesome, whoever you are. This is a great example of a wonderful like campaign. Let me show you why. So It's a warm cold call. Call. It's not a cold call because I'm blocking all the names of all these friends that I have plus 18 others. So you're building rapport. You're telling them, hey, I'm relevant. People actually like me. So there's a button that you can use on Power Editor that you target friends and fans. And then the caption is great. Whoever came up with the caption is a genius. And then this looks like hardcore Tennessee. Like my grandma probably would never be able to make this soup, so I just crave the soup right now. So this is a great example of a like campaign, and you see why. You have the people that are engaging with it, and it causes relevance. It has a great caption, and the picture's very stunning. I literally want to dip a spoon in that soup when I'm freezing my butt off here in the winter. And I'm from Miami, if you haven't got, so that's why I love this picture. So, Seaver's Bakery. This is not an actual sponsored boosted post, as you can tell. It would say you're sponsored, but I thought this was really relevant because who has kids here? So, when you tell your spouse, hey, we're expecting, and Joe right there, he's about to have a kid for the first time. So when you announce it to your spouse that you're having a child, you want to make it memorable. And I thought this was not sales pitchy, but very top of mind. So it's iconic because it has the handwritten, it's not photoshopped, it's not photostock photo. The iconic logo that they have, and then the donuts. I thought this was a great example. You might have something behind the scenes, but this is a great example of an engagement campaign. So like I said, reach is so low, you definitely want to start boosting or promoting ads like this that just keep you top of mind. And they say it takes 12 interactions to close a sale in real life. So you have to do a couple of these things to make things happen. Another thing that you want to throw, and for the analytical folks, I live for you guys. I love people that are analytical because you just show them numbers and they get it. They say that when it comes to business, your 50 to 60% of the business that you get is from your current customers, while 5 to 12% of the business that you get is from new customers. So if we can just tell our current customers that we exist, that we do these sort of fuzzy stuff, maybe they'll think about us next time they have a big milestone like this. So the daddy-daughter dance, this is a great thing. It was all over my feed in the month of February and March. Right now it's VBS, like VBS people are hitting it up really hard right now. So this is another great example of, it's showing me all these people are interested in this event. One thing that really got my attention is that 63% of people find a live event through Facebook, and it's up to 73% if it's millennials. So most people are finding events to go to through Facebook. So this is something you want to cater to. So if you want to spend, maybe $5, $10, $15, $20 on an event and boost it or promote it, this is a great way to get people into your door if you have a brick and mortar location. These are not clients of mine, but this is a great way to remind people that you have a website and that you do boarding and they've been in business for 38 years. They have a lot of information, but it's just something top of mind, just something subtle. So I immediately, when I saw this, I immediately wrote down the code and started looking online for I think it was paper and for folders. So if you have an offer to give to someone, this is a great way to get them to go to your website at least just to look at your products. The Biscuit Fest. Who's been to, come on, there's foodies in here. Who's been to the Biscuit Festival in Knoxville? I'm looking this way because you guys are all foodies, you advertising folks. No one's been to the Biscuit Festival? Oh my goodness, that's how I discovered Tupelo honey. So, this is a great festival in Knoxville. It's once a year and they have biscuits and every little station is just the craziest things you've seen in biscuits is had a biscuit. So this is a great example of carousel ads. So you're showing multiple images from your website that take you to different pages on your website. And I thought this was really relevant. A whole bunch of people that I'm friends with love this. And it's a 2-for-1 deal. They tell you to like the page and then you can learn more about the specific products or services. Bed in a Box. A lot of people are fond of Bed in the Box. They went to one of my workshops and I love what they did with their ad after they went to my workshop. It's telling you to shop now. $200 is a lot of money when you're trying to buy a mattress. If you can save it, that's a great way to use an ad. And you can see they got a lot of comments and shares within this one ad. And this was like day one. So Pixel, who loves Pixel? David, I know you love Pixels. I know, you thought I wasn't gonna mention it. But the thing is with Pixels, you have to be BFFs with your webmaster because you gotta get a code. And whoever likes Google Analytics will love Facebook Pixels. It's basically the same thing. You're tracking where your ads come from if they're coming from Facebook. So you put this pixel inside your website header, and then you can track where, if your ads are coming from Facebook or not, and what type of action they get. So this is a great way to really quantify the traffic that you're getting, your advertisements, if it's coming from Facebook or not. So I love to provide examples. I have one client that has a school, and she was trying to max out her facility, and her max level was 16 students. And this is $1,000 program, thousands of dollars. So we created an ad, and they had about $1,000 to spend. So we spent about $125 to $250 on advertisements. So every 2 weeks, the class started in March. So every 2 weeks, beginning in December for the holidays, we did like little, reminding you, like tap on the shoulder, hey, we have a class that starts in March, in the middle of the holiday season. So we spent 2 weeks doing that. Then the beginning of January, I think it's January 6th, we created another ad, and it was a still shot of pictures, the video pictures that are like 8 images. We had about 15,000 reach and about 10,000 clicks on that ad itself. And then they did one at the end of January, and then one in the beginning of February saying, hey, you have 2 weeks left. If not, you're not going to be able to come into this class. Well, guess what? She maxed out on the number of students, and she was actually considering renting the office space next door to fit more students for this class. So, she spent $1,000 on a total advertising budget, including my services, and then on the ads itself. So she was able to max out. It was a determining factor if who's going to stay in business or not. When you have these classes, these are big money makers for any business owner. So my next slide, who is a NFL fan? Oh my goodness, yes, you're gonna love my next slide. So, the Miami Dolphins, and I'm from Miami, but I'm a Cowboys fan. I know it's a weird story, but the Miami Dolphins was the #1 ranked team that had video views on Facebook last year. And I'm gonna tell you why that was the case. So every day they came up with content, they came up with videos called The Life. So you're not necessarily football. They had stuff about the Miami community. They had podcasts. They spent a lot of time creating video content, creating content. And then 25% or $4 million of their revenue for 2017 was through the memberships, that they increased their memberships to go attend games. So what they did, again, was videos. They created a whole bunch of videos, podcast episodes, things about what's going on in Miami. And what they did is they did that. Then they did the targeted audiences. And there's a lead ad that they did where they told people, just sign up for your name and give us your email. And they collected all the information from Facebook about them. And they were able to provide advertisements to these audiences to get them to come to events at the stadium. And then the step 4 was once they were in the stadium, they sold them, But once you go to a game like that, I've never been to a Dolphins game. I've only been to UF games. I'm a Gator. I know I always get stabbed. I feel like I'm going to get stabbed in the parking lot when I say I'm a Gator fan. But, nothing like being in a live environment in the stadium. So they were able to be the #1 NFL team when it comes to video views and sell 25% of their sales, of ticket sales, was through Facebook. So I thought that was really relevant for the audience here. So one thing that Facebook is trying to monetize is the 1.2 billion people that are using their Messenger app. Who's constantly being bombarded with Messenger right now and seeing advertisements on Messenger? I actually saw one that was really relevant. This is an example from Facebook. But the Bristol Ballet, the Nutcracker, I saw it immediately, and I was about to buy a ticket, but I was going out of town that weekend. That was an effective campaign, and I started seeing it on my Messenger, because I'm always on my Messenger, talking to people online. So I thought this was a great way to target people. So as opposed to having them go to your website or do something else, maybe you just want to reach them through Messenger. But make sure you have your Messenger, your away messages set away perfectly, because there are 3 different types of away messages when you do your Facebook campaigns and everything, so you want to keep that in mind. So back to Power Editor, I wanted to show you just a little bit of the things that we can do with the objectives. So one example is traffic. So if you want people to go to your website with all this information, you want lead generation, which is what the Dolphins did. You want people to like your page, you want to engage with your post, or you want them to respond to your event, or you want them to send you a message. It's pretty simple and concise. I did this training with Power Editor. It took 10-hour videos, and it was great because it really caters to your audiences. And there's 3 steps. I use the campaign is where you determine your objective. The ad set is where you determine your budget and the audiences. And then the hardest part for me is the visual. What am I going to post? What's my caption going to say? So that's something to think about when it comes to Power Editor. So here's the first step, the second step. So here I determine my budget, I determine the dates, and it tells me the potential reach overall and the overall reach by day, whether it's on Facebook or on Instagram. And I spend a lot of time, and if you go down here, this is where you determine your audience. And that's I always say half the headache is who am I really targeting? I always use the example of Valentina chocolates. Their net proceeds benefit children charities. They're right here in Kingsport. I'm a sucker for their moonshine truffles. So I always tell her, Brenda, why don't you create a advertisement promoting the moonshine truffles to the people that have bought from you in the past, and you can just use that as an audience. Or you can use people that are foodies that like chocolate that live in Kingsport, or people that like moonshine. So that's the type of stuff that you consider using as a target demographic. For the people that do real estate, there's a button that says recently moved to the area. So anyone that recently moved, or someone that's engaged, or someone that has a first-time home buyer. There's so many different types of options when it comes to that. I used to target employers in education when it comes to my nonprofit organization clients. I would say, okay, I'm gonna hit up the people that work for Eastman, people that work for the hospitals back there, Emily. I wanna hit up all those guys. Now they've eliminated that option, but that was something that makes us marketers and us small business owners work harder and analyze who is really gonna be buying our products and services. So here, if we keep going down to the audience, we can target people by their demographics, their interests, their behaviors, and there's more categories involved. And what I do is, when I do the Friends of Fan, which is the arrow that I was blocking the people's names, I just target people that are friends of my page, so there's that warm, fuzzy feeling. And then finally, back to John's question, what is dark and unpublished? So if I were to pick any previous post that I've ever done in my Facebook timeline, it's right here. Or if I want to do what Dunkin' Donuts did, which is the little arrow thing, the plus sign, I can create a post from scratch and say, hey, you moonshine lovers, or you wedding folks, or the folks in Bristol that are in real estate. I can create a post from scratch and just boost it to that specific audience, or I can go here and use an existing post. And the good thing with Facebook is that it ties in with Instagram. So with that, you can choose a previous post, and if there's a little triangle next to it, that means it's not able to use on Instagram because of the dimensions. So it kind of tells you ahead of time, what you can do, and then you can have a call to action button. This is just one example of many. So here I was boosting an event that I do at the TSBDC in Johnson City near the Fresh Market, and I just choose the event that I'm going to use, like this event. When I did this event here, I did 2 different types of campaign. I targeted my friends and fans, so of the people that like my business page beyond engagement, those are real people. Like I've never done a sweepstakes, I've never done a giveaway, I've never done a contest. So of those people that like my page, those are the people that have gone to my workshops, have been clients, so I know those are real fans of what I do. So I did that first. I targeted people that are friends of the page, and then about the week after, I targeted people that are business page admins, people that have spent money on Facebook ads. There's an actual one that says people that have spent money on Facebook ads. So for you creative professionals, if you want to target the small business owners, that would be a great way to get their attention, is to target people that have paid money on Facebook recently. And they even tell you like the type of categories, like if they spend a lot of money, if they spend nothing, or very little. And I don't discriminate. I'll hit up anyone that's ever spent money on Facebook ads. So yeah, that always makes someone laugh. But I love doing those type of things and quantifying which one works or not. And if I put my face in the ad itself, that also helps with my marketing. And what I love about Power Editor is I can do a split test. What that means is I can have the same advertisement and just change a variable, maybe the audience, maybe add my face, take my face out, and see which one works best for my advertisement. So the final step, once you've been through this beast, because it is a beast of a product, you press review and publish. And then it takes about 15 minutes at least, maybe an hour, maybe longer, and you get to see if it was approved or not. One thing that I love to emphasize is, let me go back, is the text overlay rule. you cannot have too much text in the image itself. And this is tool, I love it. Like it's the text overlay rule. You upload the picture, and I showed 2 examples here. So this one has very little text, and then this one has a whole bunch, and it says here, hey, we'll take your money, but we're not gonna show it to a lot of people. Essentially, that's what it's saying here. So you have to be mindful when you use the text overlay rule. But back to ad placements, I really encourage you to think about this. This is something you have to be mindful of. If they say it's about 70 to 80% of people access Facebook through their mobile phones. So they're on their phones. They're at work and they're like, no one's looking at me, I'm gonna just go under my table and look at my Facebook. So they're hiding it, that they're watching it. So people access Facebook through their phones, so be mindful when you do boosted ads, or if you use Power Editor, to not do, I try not to do the desktop option, and you know, there's 2 ways to look at it. But if most people that I cater to are on the go, they're business owners, they don't have time, they're not on their desktop, then I try to cater that to audience. So I try not to do the desktop, and I do not do the right-hand ads, because you have to be on your desktop to view those right-hand ads, and I think they look kind of spammy anyways. But back to the text overlay rule. I love using Canva, and I'll show you in the next couple of slides. I'm not these folks here that know how to use Photoshop. I use Canva. I don't have time to learn Photoshop and to use it. So with that, I can read it, and it even has an option where you can customize a dimension based on what social media platform, or if you're doing a Facebook ad, it shows you options in very little text, so you don't have to break this rule with Facebook. And just like I was saying, so I use multiple Facebook apps when I'm consulting with my clients, just to make their life easier, because they don't have time to be doing this themselves too much. So the Facebook ads, this is how I monitor my ads right now. When I have a Facebook ad going on, I can stop it, pause it, use the audience, see what the audience is looking like, pause it. I use the Pages app. I love doing that because then I know I'm commenting and responding as Beyond Engagement, not as Valentina. And then this, the audience insights, I really think that everyone should look at their audience insights and see what they are exactly. Advertising policy, there's so many things you have to be mindful of when it comes to Facebook advertising, and this link provides all the information you will need for that. And then this is my favorite one. I love using this tool, this link, and basically, there's so many options when it comes to Facebook advertisements. When it comes to, you know, if you're doing a Facebook mobile campaign versus a desktop, if it's gonna show up on Instagram versus, Facebook, if just the way it's gonna be placed, if you're using multiple images, if you're using a video, this tool right here shows you how the dimensions, the headlight, the character limit, all this sort of stuff. It really caters to, knowing what to put out there when you're advertising.
And they do a really good job of keeping it up to date.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, that one is the most updated one. It's the 2018 edition. So, questions. I might have gone too fast for you guys, but I love what I do. Seriously, I love it. Yes.
Facebook's blocking things now. How do we learn what they block and that in their policies at?
That's why I always have that link in my presentation, just to be. I'm not an attorney, and those guys also make me want to add another night, because there's so many red tape. There's so much red tape when it comes to advertising. Yes. That's a great question, John. Appreciate it. Any other questions? Yes, Miranda.
Do you know what the latest rules are with giveaways? Like you can't, what people do it.
I don't see. I never do it, and I never.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You're not
exactly.
supposed to ask them to like or share your page. You can ask them to comment. Do you know what the latest is on that?
You can always search for that. And the thing is, and you have to have third-party apps sometimes to do it, and then you have to disclose Facebook is no way and related to this sort of thing. And I knew you were gonna ask me that question, but it's one of those things that you can definitely find out very quickly if you search on Facebook. Yes.
The Power Editor.
Yes.
Is that pretty easy to navigate?
No, it's not. It took me, it was a 10-hour video course, and I played each video 3 times. So it was 3 hours every time I played that video. And then, like I said, next week I'm gonna go to the conference where the guy that taught me Power Editor will be in there in person teaching me for 4 hours straight how to do it, or to keep learning from it.
Okay.
But once you get the gist of it, once you take maybe an hour or so and just do the same thing over and practice, I think it's trial and error for a lot of people. And I'm surprised a lot of people get it within an hour of being with me. The hardest thing, like I said, is who am I going to target? There's so many audience types that I can target, and the other half is what is the visual? What is the content? A lot of people get stuck on the blurb, the caption that's going to go over the picture or video. Okay, now everyone's filling that out. Any other questions? Yes.
How is Power Editor similar to like Hootsuite or Sprout Social?
I like using Power Editor because I can get more targeted with the audiences, if that makes sense. Yeah. And Hootsuite, I use that more when it comes to scheduling multiple posts. Exactly. But yeah, you're doing a great job with your storytelling and being engaging with the public, because your thing is that you manage a really big beast of accounts. You know, when it comes to social media, you're on top of things with Instagram, you're on top of things with Twitter. I haven't checked Facebook, but I know you're the one doing the Instagram post, right? Yeah. And doing a great job tagging the right accounts, like the second hardest. Yeah. Yes.
If you've got a client who has a smaller budget of like $300 or less per month they can spend on ad spend, what kind of advice would you give to them? What would be the first thing that they should do?
It depends if they have an event coming up, a live event, if someone's coming to their location. But like I said, I follow that 3-step prong. So if they're, I always say, this is the first thing I ask someone. Who is your current clientele? Like, who's the person that's walking in the door? Who is the person that's calling you up? Give me the 2 or 3 personas and tell me what they are, what they're doing. And then I ask them, okay, why don't we create a light campaign to get more of those people back in the door that resemble that audience? And then let's look at our posts and see what can be posts that's top of mind. That's a great way to get them to know you, but without being sales pitchy. And then eventually, like I said, I was with a call to action campaign. But I split it up. You know, it all depends. Most small business owners here, and I'm going in this side because it's mostly small business owners on this side of the table. You know, they only have maybe $20, $50 to spend on an ad. I spent maybe $40 overall on this event, promoting this event, because I was very mindful of how I was going to spend it. You know, I always love the Weather Channel. I love looking at the Weather Channel because if it's raining, guess what? Who's on their phone? Everyone's on their phone when it's horrible. I love it when it rains. I always boost something. And then I also think about weekends and weekdays. You know, when are people most likely to be online? It just depends on the type of person. A lot of the people that like me on Instagram are commenting and liking and engaging with me on Wednesday afternoons versus Friday nights and Saturdays. But Sunday morning's a great time because everyone's at brunch having a great time, you know, and looking at their feed. But it just depends. That's why I love showing the insights. That's why I started off with the insights. Because then I can track who's going when, what time of the day, what time of the week, you know, when are they online. It's a big question to answer basically, but it just depends on their budget. Okay. So if you have $300 to spend, maybe I'll spend, you know, $50 to get new likes, and then I'll spend, you know, maybe $150 to really promote all my posts or my past posts, and then hit them up softly, you know, with a call to action.
You mentioned events first. Is that really the thing you see the best return on your investment
Yeah,
for?
because like I said, they say that 63% of people hear about events through Facebook. So if I can amplify the reach of an event, like for example, ribbon cutting, you know, after hours, or if you have a special thing going on, or if you're renting Founders Park for the weekend for Friday night, you know, it's a big thing. So that's how, the thing is, I always think the best of my clients. So I figured if I can get them to call you or walk in the door, you can do the rest. You can sell them your services because you guys are so awesome. So if I can get, if you guys can have an event and really boost and promote this event, then you can close that sale and get that client. Okay. Any other questions? Yes.
You showed me the other day a breakdown of the different categories. Is that available online, the different categories that you can use to
Yes.
target?
I can send you a link with all that information.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If anyone wants the slides, or I have a very comprehensive list of who you can target, all the options, it's mind-blowing, seriously. I can send you a link with all those options of all type of people you can target. I'm not sure if I have a copy or not here with me today. Let me see. But it really breaks it down to all the people, and it's an infographic of all the options that you can reach with the potential audiences. Here it is. Let me just pass it around. And if you want a copy, I can definitely email it to you.
Yeah, Valentina, if you want to email us, whatever you want to share.
Okay. Can you just send it to everyone?
Yeah, for that, yeah, register for
Okay, perfect. That'll be great. Yeah, that'll be great. Yeah, because it's mind blowing all type of people you can target. Because then we're giving you that information out. We're checking in. We're liking. We're doing all this stuff with other pages. Yes.
Regarding events, you say that millennials especially are finding out about events on Facebook. Do you recommend creating an event? Because I know a lot of people who are all about creating a Facebook event.
Yes.
But we don't get a lot of pops from Facebook events. So is it, do you then boost that Facebook event?
That's a
Or
good
do you
question, yeah.
Post and boost that post?
So what I do is that I create the event, I wait a day or so and just to see how it works organically, and then I start boosting it to amplify the reach. Because remember, the reach is so low right now on Facebook. How many events have you created? And that's a good question too, because a lot of people are like, I've done Facebook ads, it doesn't work for me, and they've only done it twice and they've spent like $20 each, and they haven't targeted the right audiences. So I always bring the question back to them and say, hey, how many events have you created to determine that it doesn't work for you? So,
Well, we advertise for all of our ticketed events
Okay.
on Facebook.
and I see them, yes.
But when we create events, we've only gone back to trying 2 or 3 maybe last season because it had been so unsuccessful heretofore.
Who were you targeting if you were boosting it? Were you targeting specific demographics?
I've never boosted an event.
So you haven't done the advertisements on the events itself?
I do a separate ad for the events that's not necessarily connected to the.
Oh, okay,
Created
okay.
event.
Okay, well, I would love to know what happens. You should get back to me when you do boost a Facebook event and see what happens. Because like I said, I go both ways. I either boost it or I go through Power Editor and go even more targeted. But there's a thing to think about. When you do events, you can do awareness, you can do ticket sales, and I try to do awareness so I can get all my friends and their friends to see the event, just get them, top of mind. Because I think GoToWebinar had a great presentation where it said 33% of people will book something 3 weeks out, the type A people, the type awesome. And then a day before, 33% of the people, so the procrastinators, will showing something a day before. So you have to be mindful. So that's why I boost things as soon as I find out about it, and then the day before I promote it like crazy, or the week before. Because people are so busy with vacations and everything, especially right now. So, like, I thank you guys for coming, because I know you could be somewhere else or on vacation.
You just said something that finally sunk in, maybe.
Okay.
What you're saying with an event is, so I use Eventbrite for keep track of my seminars.
Yes.
I can post that to Facebook as an event, as a Facebook event. And you're saying boost the event, not run an ad that promotes whatever, which
Yeah.
might be an event.
Yeah.
You're saying boost
The event itself.
is more effective than creating an ad for the event.
It varies, but that might be something you might want, like the split testing. You might want to boost a post about the event and then spend money on the event itself. Because with there's a lot of options with the event itself. You can build awareness, you can increase ticket sales, you can get more impressions. It's all about what you want. And it's a different strategy 3 weeks out versus a week out.
Okay.
You want to get a lot of people pumped up about the event, so that's why I like doing those awareness ones ahead of time. Yeah. Okay. Yes, there's one more, Danny, yes.
How can you get content ideas, for some of us non-creative people?
Oh my goodness.
I get stuck, especially when people keep asking. I have so many different categories of businesses that I work with, and they keep, wanting to know. Is there something
You know, I always think about,
Start it?
yeah, I always think about the FAQ questions and every website, like what are the frequently asked questions? What is something that everyone asks me? So every time I do a presentation, I always get asked that question, what you just asked me about, you know, how far in advance do I do something? How far in advance, you know, do I need to do the event? What type of awareness do I do? Do I do clicks or do I do awareness? You know, I've done Facebook ads. This is a question I always get asked. I've done Facebook ads, but they're not successful. So always same questions. I get asked the same 5 questions at every presentation. That's something that I have come up with content. So I do that as a blog post or a behind the scenes post, or if I'm involved with a charity. Jenny didn't do my introduction, but I'm on the board for Second Harvest. I'm in their marketing committee. I'm part of the Alzheimer's Association. So I don't just hit people up about social media. I do motivational quotes. I talk about the work that I do with these nonprofits. I talk about the fact that I'm a mom with 2 kids under the age of 5, which that drives anyone crazy. So, you know, that's the stuff that I post, and that's something that's relevant. It builds rapport with people. When I do my bio page on my about section, I always try to have something in common. So if you look at my Instagram, I say I'm a wife, I'm a mom, most people are married, most people have kids, and if they don't have kids, I say that I'm a chocolate lab mom, so I have a chocolate Labrador. You know, and then I say I'm on the board for Second Harvest, so it knows that people know that I have a heart behind me. So that's the type of stuff that you can tell your clients. What else are you doing other than working? What else are you involved with? Because people mostly build rapport with that. People understand there's a food crisis right now in the area. People understand that Alzheimer's is a deadly disease that's taking the lives of many people. 43 football stadiums can fill all the people that have Alzheimer's. 2 of the 3 people are women. So, you know, those are the type of things that if you can tell your client, if you're really involved with something or you're working on something that's very passionate about, that's something that I would post about on social media so people know there's a fuzzy side to you, if that makes sense. But that's content idea, is just the frequently asked questions, what you're working on, and then behind the scenes things too. Like you're doing a ribbon cutting or you're doing a webinar or an event, you want to show all the hours of work. I did a video last week on my Instagram talking about how many hours it took me to do this one presentation and all the stories that I had to come up with. If people see how much work it takes to do what you do, they'll appreciate that. So hopefully that answers your question. Okay, Jenny, we're good. Thank you. I really appreciate it.